and welcome to another episode of Home Tech. Jason, how's it going, man?
It's going great, Seth. How are you?
Doing well. I heard you got a new little toy that you picked up.
Yeah, we do. I've been curious about these things for a while, and we actually went out and picked up a Chromebook last week, and it's actually been really cool. We sort of had our hand forced in a way. Like, my wife is out of work right now on maternity leave for a while, which is really great that she's able to spend a bunch of time at home. But the only kind of downfall to it was that her work took her laptop back, and that was the only laptop that she had. And she'll be going back to work here in a couple of months, so we didn't really want to go out and spend a bunch of money on like a brand new, full blown laptop. And so we decided we'd try out a Chromebook, and so far so good. I actually really like it.
I've never known anyone to own one of those.
Yeah.
So, this is the Chromebook. It's just a little small laptop. It's not very fast or powerful, but it basically just runs Google Chrome's browser, right? Like, it's just an internet device.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a web book. We went with the Toshiba model. There's a bunch of different manufacturers out there making these. And it's basically... It more or less relies on the internet to do just about everything. You can obviously use it without an internet connection, but you're very limited. It does have some local storage. It's got a USB port on it. It does have like a 16 gigabyte hard drive on it. So, there are things you can do with it without the internet. But yeah, it's basically like the bulk of your storage is on Google Drive, and it runs like the Chrome web browser. And that was really all we needed. Like, she just needed a way to kind of keep up on email and social media, and just, to kind of putz around on the internet. And so it was perfect. I think we paid like $300 for it. And so far it's worked great. I took it out of the box, and honestly, like, within 10 minutes we were up and running. Like, there's no software to install. No antivirus to worry about. It just sort of like, you turn it on, you plug in your Google login, and you kind of configure a couple of basic options, and you're off and running.
That's cool. I heard some people talking about using those as kind of as like burner laptops. Like, if you're a company that goes over to like overseas to any country, really, you don't want to bring a laptop with you, because they end up like taking it in customs and copying everything on your hard drive or whatever.
Right.
So, but anyway, they take those laptops and they just throw them away before they leave. So it's
Yeah.
it's one of those things that companies do, and if they need to travel overseas, so they don't have everything copied. But
right.
I thought it was interesting that you picked one up, and I was kind of wondering how it was working out for you.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Definitely fit the bill. It was what we needed for this particular application. So
cool.
Yeah, excited to sit down and chat with you. There was some interesting stories that we heard this week, and also you had a good interview with a gentleman from HDAnywhere. I was not able to sit in on that interview, but maybe you can give us like a small teaser.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to sit down with Chris Pinder of HDAnywhere. A little tough on schedules because he's over in the UK, I'm on the East Coast, and you're on the West Coast.
Right.
So the time zone thing just like killed us. And he had some time, I had some time, and I think you were...
And I didn't.
I think you were asleep or something. Like. So we just sat down and...
No, it was like the middle of the day here, and I had a meeting, so I just couldn't reschedule.
Yeah, no worries. We sat down and just kind of chatted a little bit about it's a really cool product, this HDAnywhere. It's just now getting into the US, but I follow those live install guys on Twitter. And if you're an integrator, or heck if you're not, and you want to see what a real system looks like when it's finished, go to like live install and see what these guys. These guys. It's mostly UK work, but I see some stuff from like Texas and around the US pop up from time to time, and I tweet things out when I'm working too. But man, they post some beautiful work. Just craftsmanship that's done on those projects looks great. But anyway, I started noticing some of their racks had these little blue boxes in them, or purplish blue boxes in them, and I'm trying to figure out what they were, and they had this little HD logo on them, and started looking up what they were, and it's like a modular HDMI switch or matrix. So you can kind of pick and choose, how many inputs and outputs you need for the job, rather than buying an 8x8 or a 16x16 or whatever. You pick what you need for the job and slide these little modules in and call it a day. And it's just a really, really cool system all around. And then we saw them at CEDIA. So they show up. They're going to be distributed here in the U.S. as well. So I'm all excited about them. So I was glad to sit down with Chris and chat about the product a little bit more.
Well, I look forward to hearing that. As we're sitting here recording, I actually have not had the opportunity to listen to the conversation either. So I look forward to hearing that. I know also we had an email come through from one of our listeners, and I believe his name was Peter. And Peter is listening all the way from Sweden. So Peter, if you're hearing this, first of all, thank you so much for tuning in to the show. We really appreciate you listening. And I believe he had kind of a follow-up point, Seth, about our discussion regarding quantum dots and OLED.
Yeah. I guess he was listening to some other podcasts, and they were saying that they had actually been on the show floor and saw that they observed that the quantum dot or nano dot or whatever they're going to end up calling it between all these manufacturers and the OLED TVs, they looked pretty good. They had good colors, but the black levels on the quantum dots are not as good as the OLEDs, which is kind of disappointing to me, because the black levels are really what makes the picture. Yeah. But I suspect we're going to start seeing these quantum dots or nano dots or whatever they end up settling on. Yeah. Being sold before OLEDs, because those OLEDs, they really haven't come down in price or quantity. Like, I don't think they can build them out as fast.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's a great point. And, I'm glad he brought it up. I certainly not a TV engineer, but I do know that, like, as I understand it anyways, an OLED TV, the pixels themselves are actually creating the light. So when a pixel needs to go black, it can basically just shut off. Whereas technology, the quantum dots, is at its core based off of LCD technology. So it's a backlit screen, and you've got little shutters in front of the backlight that open and close, and that's how the color for each pixel is controlled. The reason why LCDs and LEDs have never been able to get the same black levels as like plasma and, as I understand it, OLED, is because you get a little tiny bit of leakage of light, even when all of those pixels close to create, or when all of the shutters close to create black. You get a little bit of light that leaks out, and that's why you don't get like the same level of black.
Yeah. So yeah. The best way I've heard it explained is, like, if you have a window and you have a shade, you pull the shade over the window and it's daytime outside, you can still see the light kind of leaking out around the edge.
Right.
And break that down really, really small, on a very small level. That's what you get on LED TVs and LCD TVs, for that matter.
Yeah.
I guess the real question is, do they look better than the current versions of LEDs? And I guess the answer is probably yes, right?
Yes. Yeah, that is, I don't think, debatable from everything that I've heard. I haven't had the opportunity to see one of these in person. But yeah, it's a major change in the way that they're producing the backlight versus how they've done it on traditional LCDs and LEDs. And, the real question is, when it comes to mass market adoption, quantum dots, they're going to be able to produce these things at like a fraction of the cost of OLED. And so even though you might have OLED as a superior picture in one way or another, if the quantum dot TV is close enough for most people but costs like a significant amount less, they're going to opt for that. So it's really going to come down to a matter of, like, if they can get OLED technology down to a price point that enough people are interested in.
Yeah, we saw that with plasma, right? Like, plasma,
exactly.
Far superior technology than LCD or LED or OLED, for that matter. And they just had to stop developing it because the prices kept going up for the production. The demand kept going down because people wanted the cheaper LCDs. And here we are.
Exactly.
We're talking about quantum dots on your
nanotechnology. So anyways, we could do probably a whole episode, and maybe we should someday, on like competing TV technologies and how they work and the pros and cons. And it definitely is an interesting topic. And Peter, we thank you so much for taking the time to shoot us an email. We do appreciate it. Speaking of TVs, that was kind of like the main theme of our news stories that we were looking at this week. It has to do with remotes, like controlling the living room, right?
Yeah, and Peter actually sent in that same email, sent us the link to this Harmony Remote API news story that you and I were going to talk about anyway. But so it seems to be making the rounds. It's pretty big news, I think.
Yeah, it looks like there was something official that happened this week. I don't know exactly what that was, but we've seen murmurings of this Logitech Harmony Home API, I think, for a little while now, if I'm remembering correctly. But in any event, it looks like it was kind of made official this week that the Logitech Harmony Home API has been released. Looks like they've got partnerships locked down with companies like SmartThings, If This Then That. So some big names there. And this could be really exciting. I think that one of those kind of missing links in the smart home that we've talked about a lot is that ability to, sit down and tie it in with a nice handheld remote that has tactile buttons on it, and you can control your living room using kind of the same system that you use for your home automation. And I think we're starting to see more of that, and this is exciting news.
Yeah. I for whatever reason, I ran across this Harmony API kind of back in December, and I even have a draft email that I started composing, because if you go to their myharmony.com, we'll put all these links in the show note. You go to the Air API page and you request access to the API. When you click request access, it pops up, email Harmony, basically. So I started typing the email and just kind of like, I'll see how this plays out and see how big it gets. So that was back in December. On December 7th is when I stopped working on that email. So I guess this has been around for a while, but I think it's significant now that they have integrations with If This and That, SmartThings, and a couple of other things, along with all the AV. I mean, Harmony's looking like a pretty good platform to be on, right?
Yeah, they've got, they've been doing the AV thing for a long time, which not many companies in that sort of straight to consumer space can say. And they've got a very massive database of IR commands, which really is, like it or not, it's still kind of the go-to method for controlling consumer electronic devices. And so that's a big asset for them. And some of their new remotes, I think, look really good and really compelling. And it looks like they're certainly positioning themselves to be a serious contender here. Yeah.
And I think for most people, at least most people that I've talked to that do anything DIY, I think Harmony remotes are kind of their first introduction.
The go-to.
Yeah. That's what everybody thinks of when they think about, having a universal remote of some type. They think about using Harmony, because that brand has been around 10, 12 years. It's been around for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it looks cool. Speaking of remotes, again, we were sort of looking at all these news stories this week, and there seemed to be a lot kind of tied to that theme. And there was a story about iRule getting some serious funding. And iRule is a company that they basically got a platform that allows you to turn your smartphone or iPhone or Android into the remote for your living room. Obviously, you and I have some thoughts about that particular approach in terms of using an app as kind of the default method of controlling your TV. And I think that certainly is, has some inherent weaknesses, not having those tactile buttons. But iRule's been around for a while, and again is really big in that DIY space. I hear discussions about it all the time if you go on some of the DIY forums, and it's really kind of one of those options that a lot of people use. And it looks like they got, I think it was $2.5 million in funding just recently. So good chunk of change.
Yeah, that's a lot of money for a company like this. It's interesting because they're only a software company, and I think they use, if I remember correctly, they have a dealer version. So they have, I think it's called On Controls, or maybe it's just software that they give out. Yeah, there's like a dealer channel, and then they do the DIY channel at the same time. So you can actually, if you're a custom integrator, you can go up to their website and sign on as a dealer. And I guess there's some software or something that they have extra. I don't know. I haven't looked too much into it. Mm-hmm. But that's just because I really like the tactile feedback. But I know a lot of people really like having, using their iPhone or iPad to control their TV. I wrote an app for the App Store, for the Apple App Store, a couple of years back. I want to say 2011. To to basically mimic what a Control 4 HC250 hard button remote control would do on an iPad or iPhone. And people still use that.
Yeah.
I mean, they still love it. It's called Go Remote. I put a link in the show note if anybody wants to go look at it. I'm not really supporting it very much anymore. I haven't updated in like a year or two, but it still works, and I still see that people use it. So it is what it is. People like that kind of thing.
To each his own.
Yeah.
To each his own. I just have to have hard buttons in my media room or living room. It's just like not negotiable.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't want to look down. I don't want to have like all of a sudden the light level from the iPad or whatever creep up and kind of blind me or something. I don't know. That's I really like to just not think about it and feel that button and hit that button. But I know a lot of. Did you see that Pronto was making a comeback and they're kind of doing something like this?
I did, yeah. That was a story about a month ago, and it actually looked like they were coming out with what they were calling a hub along with the app.
I'm not going to ring the bell because I don't really think it's a hub. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They came out with something called the Pronto Peel, I believe they were calling it, and it was comprised of a few parts. Had like a $50 hub that was basically a 360-degree IR blaster. So you would put that like in your media room cabinet. And then the app, which was free. And, Pronto is one of these companies. They were one of the first companies out there doing universal remotes. And then they just have kind of stagnated, and we just haven't heard anything from them for a while. And so it's kind of like, don't call it a comeback sort of thing. But I think they released at CES this year and didn't seem to get much attention. I don't know why that is. I didn't really come across any stories about it, which is a little surprising to me because Pronto's a big name in that space, or at least they used to be. But yeah, again, it's just that strictly app-based approach that I'm not a big fan of. Yeah,
and man, just the name Pronto just brings back all sorts of memories. some good, some very, very bad.
You read my mind. Yeah, exactly. I even just as recently as about a year and a half ago, I went on a service call and came to a house, and it was an older couple, and they had some Pronto remotes in there, and they were still working. That thing was programmed to control a pretty basic TV setup, and it was just still chugging away. So there's something to be said for that. Yeah,
those things are tanks, man.
Yeah.
They would take a hit. They would keep running. I mean, they're pretty amazing, and they sold them for a number of years. I remember we were pretty big Marantz dealers at the dealership I was at, and they actually bundled in a particular version of the Pronto remote with their receivers. So when you bought the receiver, you got the Pronto remote.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it was like a no-brainer. So I think that's why we were using them there. But yeah, just the software was a bit kludgy. I don't know. I have fond memories of wasting hours in a day trying to swap out a cable box.
Yeah.
When a client got a new cable box or switched to a different cable provider. Yeah, hours and hours and hours.
Right. Well, that's a bit of a blast from the past. On the opposite side of the spectrum here, we've got a new entrant into the market that actually looks really interesting in this Neo remote. You've seen this thing, right?
Man, this thing has been all over the internet for the last couple of days.
Yeah. They're like just destroying it on Kickstarter right now. They, I don't remember exactly when it started, but I know I think they've got, as we sit here, maybe 20 days left or something like that. And they're like way over their goal. They had like a $50,000 goal on Kickstarter, and last I looked, they were at $354,000. And I had looked like the night before, and they were at like $250,000. So they're just on fire right now, and I think they've really touched on something. I mean, I think out in the market right now, there's a need and a want for more options for that hard button remote in the living room, and this thing has a really nice looking form factor, very compact. It's got a touch screen on the top that, they're manufacturing themselves. And it looks really good. I mean, one of my concerns is like getting the price point down on that thing and manufacturing their own touch screen into this unit it's kind of, those are conflicting almost missions, right? And you have to be able to make this thing at a price point that people will be compelled to pay for, but you've also got to make it robust and reliable. And I'm really hoping and pulling for them that they're able to pull that off.
Yeah, I mean, I think what catches everybody's eye is how well this product. I can't really tell if it's like a real thing or just like a mock-up, but it looks really good because it's got like
it looks amazing.
Yeah, it's only got like 10 buttons on the thing. I mean, it's got a power button, volume, mute, channel, the Rosetta control, which is up, down, left, and right, and select, back and menu, and a home button. That's pretty much all you need for most things, and it's got a touchscreen at the top, so you could just customize it if you needed those extra buttons, or you needed to get to your like number keypad. Like most people don't use the number keypad, but some people like it. So at least it gives you the option of adding those custom buttons in. Man, it looks good, and they've got a very good video on their Kickstarter page. So I'm hoping this is real and not just some kind of like thing that's gonna walk away with $300,000.
Fizzle out.
Yeah.
No, it does. The design looks great. Yeah, the design looks like something that you would see from like Apple. It's got that sort of design aesthetic and that feel to it. It's comprised of two parts. You've got the remote itself, and then you've also got like the brain or the hub or whatever they're calling it. But that's basically, again, it's a 360 degree IR blaster that you put in the cabinet, and that's where all the control actually happens. Looks compelling. I mean, like you said, it's one of those things you just like, is this real? Are they going to be able to pull this off? But definitely getting a lot of attention and looks like an exciting product.
Yeah. I mean, they're showing first shipments in March of 2015 and production full right swing by April 2015. It seems like they're being pretty aggressive. So hopefully we'll see something out of them because, man, I'll buy one. Heck, this looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks great. I saw on their Kickstarter page they're claiming compatibility with, quote, all major AV products produced in the last 10 years. And that's pretty bold statement because, like, that's a lot of AV products. And you and I know as integrators, we're, you and I as integrators and the people in our audience that are integrators are probably the ones that are the most skeptical about this product at the outset, because we know like how difficult and nagging that can be when you're out in the field programming a remote and you've got that, one device that just doesn't work right because the IR codes are no good and you don't have the factory remote or whatever it is. And that can just ruin the whole system. Like everything has to work 100% or it just is a very compromised solution. And that's going to be one of the big things for them is putting out a quality product that's reliable, supporting it if people have trouble getting it programmed and getting all of their devices to work. And then, of course, continued development of drivers for, new consumer electronic devices.
Yeah. I think they're saying the 10 years thing. That's probably just IR stuff, And then, And then the true measure will be to see how many like two-way interactive drivers they come out with or devices that they can work with. Because that's actually the hard stuff. Not saying what they haven't done isn't a great job. If this thing is real and the design holds up and it actually works, man, for whatever price this is going to be, sign me up because this looks awesome.
It does. And the last thing I wanted to touch on is the Kickstarter page does point out that they're ready, for the major protocols. They point out Thread, Bluetooth, Z-Wave, Zigbee, and Wi-Fi. So they've got all of that built in, it sounds like, which makes it even more compelling.
Seems like a dream, man. Like it sounds
too good to be true.
Yeah, it's just too good to be true.
Yeah.
So here's hoping, man, because I really love to see one of these sitting on my coffee table.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we should jump into our interview here with Chris Pinder. Before we do that, we just want to once again thank everybody for tuning in. If you're enjoying the show, please take time to tell a friend. Leave us a review on iTunes. We'd really appreciate that. And also you can follow us on Twitter at HomeTech Podcast. We would love to hear from you.
Definitely. We always love to hear feedback. Just give us a shout and we'll put something on the show if you suggest it, because we've gotten a lot of great ideas on future shows and upcoming shows that we're going to do in the future from our feedback directly from the listeners.
Yep, absolutely. So without further delay, we will present our interview here with Chris Pinder from HDAnywhere.
And we're happy to welcome Chris Pinder of HDAnywhere. Chris, How's it going, man?
Hello. Yeah, it's going really well. How's it going for you?
Very good, very good. So, Chris, I guess just let us know a little bit about yourself. I've here we were discussing in the pre-show about what your title would be, and kind of figured out we'd just call you the founder of the HDAnywhere brand, which is a bigger part of an HD connectivity, I guess, company in the UK.
Yeah, well, the name HD Connectivity corresponds to a group of brands that started with a brand called HD Cable in 2006. So that was my first business. That's how we started getting into the world of HDMI. And that was a purely e-retailer, online website selling HDMI cables back in 2006. And we've since grown from there into hardware, which is why we changed our name from cable to connectivity, because it wasn't just cables anymore. Okay. And then when we wanted to come up with a brand name that said what our products did. So when we started introducing matrices to our range, we switched to using the brand HDAnywhere for that range of products that we sell, and that's where most of my time is focused on over these past couple of years is the HDAnywhere brand.
Very cool. I'm familiar only with HD connectivity because it looks like Just Add Power, I guess, is part of that group.
That's right, yeah. A few years ago, we became the European distributor for Just Add Power. We have a very close relationship with Ed Quarles and the guys over in the States. And we sell that product in the UK for them, and that's also an awesome solution that I'm sure you'll be hearing a lot about in 2015. Very
cool. Yeah, those guys are like right down the street, and I've had a long relationship. Ed and I catch up, every show we catch up, and sometimes we're on the same plane back.
Yeah.
So because they take the same, they fly out of Tampa just like I do.
Yeah. Well, so. Ed's a very close personal friend of mine. He came to my wedding.
Oh, cool.
He comes and sees me once or twice a year, and vice versa. I love going to Tampa and taking part in some fine cigars and sangria Fridays down at the Just Add Power office. It's pretty awesome.
I think I'm going to have to head up there this tomorrow. Take part in that too.
Yeah.
So it sounds good. So let's kind of head back to HDAnywhere. Whereas Just Add Power is kind of a modular HDMI over IP solution.
Yeah.
The HDAnywhere product is a modular HDMI HD-based solution.
That's right. Yeah. So that you've got it. That's a clear distinction between the two brands. Just Add Power, the over IP brand, is kind of a competing technology standard to HD-based T, with a different set of it's got a different method of transmitting the signal and the different features and benefits compared to HD-based T. But HD-based T, what should I say? HDAnywhere is quite focused on residential, and HD-based T fits that a lot better than the IP solution, which is more suited for sort of large-scale distribution, hundreds of screens. You can literally go, I think it's 64,000 screens with Just Add Power. Whereas the HDAnywhere range of products is kind of limited to eight zones of video. That'll be expanding this year to 16. But it's really a residential solution, and HD-based T, we feel, being a lossless transmission technology with 4K compatibility, is much better suited to that sector.
Right. Because typically when you're talking commercial video distribution, you're talking about digital signage or TVs that are around maybe a large sports venue or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and I guess that kind of gets into video distribution as a what I want to call it, as a product itself. So you mentioned the two regions, I guess it would be in, commercial and residential.
Yeah.
And I guess we use them in homes quite a bit when people just want to see, a TV on the wall and a remote on the coffee table. This is the way we do it. But a lot of our listeners have kind of had a tough time wrapping their head around like why you would do video distribution in the first place and what benefits that gets. And we've covered that a little bit in the past. And I was just kind of curious if you had any maybe like use cases or things that you could explain that's an advantage to using something like the HDAnywhere solution or video distribution in general.
But I think my definition of custom installation is about making technology hidden, making living spaces neater, cleaner, less cluttered with boxes and cables. And what a video distribution system allows you to do is to hide away all those ugly boxes, that rat's nest of cables somewhere out of sight in your home, which leaves you with just a very neat display on the wall and a universal remote control, whether that be a control system or an IR remote control, what have you, in that living space. And in Europe particularly, our living spaces are getting smaller. A lot of us are living in apartments and flats and we don't have as much space as you have in US houses, so that benefit of removing that TV stand, that ugly piece of furniture underneath the television set, and all those ugly boxes that go with it, does appeal to the modern homeowner, and I think that's what good custom installation is about: hidden technology that gives you an awesome experience, but without the ugliness of horrible black boxes everywhere.
Right, and I guess that's pretty good definition, and one that I could probably stand by too, because that's really the selling point that we try and explain to our customers. Why am I doing this? Well, here's why, and we can put everything in this nice closet over here. We can service one location rather than 8 different locations when we have to do something. It just makes more sense in a completely bespoke system to do something like this. So what other kind of areas do you see video distribution in? Maybe like sports. We have the concept of sports bars over here. I know that's... I've been to London and I didn't run into too many. They had those really cool like Victorian bars.
Yeah, the original pubs. You mean? Yeah,
pubs. I guess I should call them. The bar terminology didn't hit until I hit Ireland. So
yeah. Well,
So what do you guys have anything like that over there, or what are you seeing people use in commercial? I guess.
I wish we did. We don't. I love going to the States and even going to kind of like a regular bar, an everyday bar in the States. You're going to have like 20 screens in there. That's quite normal. In the UK, that is definitely not the norm. You've got, if a screen does have sports on, it will be using a projector that's not calibrated.
Ouch!
With a blurry image that's sort of propped up with a couple of beer mats, and the technology that we see in pubs and bars in the UK is nowhere near as sort of refined as you've got it in the States. But hopefully, I think that we tend to follow the trends in the USA maybe 4 or 5 years later. I'm sure that trend will hit London and the UK at some point, where we'll begin to see bars packed full of sports, all different types of sports. Because I think the main reason why I think that is because in the UK, most people watch football and rugby, and they're the 2 main sports. Whereas in the States, you have much more than that. You've got American football, baseball, basketball, plus soccer's becoming more popular out there, and you've got a wider selection of sports that people will be interested in viewing when they're sitting at the bar. And in the UK, as proved recently by the NFL game at Wembley Stadium, NFL is growing massively in popularity in the UK. So I think we'll begin to see that sort of sports bar Americanized sports bar culture coming to the UK. And I think that will be a very big market for our products and Just Add Power and HDAnywhere and every other video distribution brand in moving forward. So that's good news, I think, for integrators that work in the commercial sector as well as the residential sector.
Yeah, and it all comes back to, I've been to plenty of, I guess, the bars here where they have like 30 or 40 TVs, and each one of those TVs has a satellite box underneath it, and the poor bartender has to go up and like press a button and kind of aim a little bit at that TV but not hit the other TV with the IR remote, and they just have all sorts of problems. It doesn't make for a nice looking install, for one thing, and it doesn't operate very well for the people who work there. And I'm glad you mentioned clutter, because let's talk about clutter and maybe talk a little bit about the product you have here, because you definitely don't clutter your product with needless buttons or anything like that. I first saw HDAnywhere when I was on the Twitter account, just kind of watching the live install, the hashtag live install guys, and I started seeing these blue boxes pop up and say, man, those look really nice. I wonder what that is, and started digging a little bit more and ran across you. So can you tell us a little bit about why you have basically these straight flat blue boxes that have no buttons or settings that appear, at least they have no buttons or settings on them, and why that is, and then how you do set these things up, and how do you get in and actually configure the systems?
Well, I think it's obvious to most custom installers, regardless of what country you're from, that most video matrices are manufactured in China without any thought to aesthetic design or finish quality, casing quality. They're kind of just shoved in an ugly black box and sent to their various Western resellers and rebadged as something this and something that. And we didn't want to do that. We didn't want to produce a Me Too matrix. So we started from the blank piece of paper, and we said, look, we're not going to make a black box product. And that's why our matrices aren't black, they're blue, because we want them to stand out in the crowd, and we don't want them to kind of be lumped in with all the other matrices out there. We want them to be considered as something different, which is obviously works because you've picked up on it through Twitter. But we also we kind of looked at all the other competing video matrices, HDMI matrices, HD basing matrices that were there in the category, and a lot of them are seriously ugly. But not only that, a lot of them have buttons and dip switches that were being used on hardware, in the early 80s. And we just kind of felt that things had moved on since then, and why should we use horrible clunky buttons? We don't need a button when a lot of people are familiar with a managed switch and how to set those up. So why don't we create a managed matrix whereby, rather than using these horrible buttons on the front of the unit, you can use a web browser with a nice user interface from your phone, your tablet, from your PC, whatever, to set the matrix up. And just not only give the end user the experience they want, but give the installer a much nicer kind of integration experience. And that's where we came from. So we had a well-designed box without any ugly buttons on it, but also a web interface called WebOS, which gave integrators a real sort of easy, simple to use system for configuring the matrix.
I'm glad I'm just sitting over here cracking up because I'm laughing at the descriptions and going through my head of all the matrix switches I put in. Even back to component video matrix switches, they're dip switches, and it feels like I'm in the early 80s.
More often than not, they're the ugliest thing in the rack. There's kaleidoscopes, beautifully designed devices that win awards for their design, sitting next to a horrible black box that looks like it's just been, shunted out of a machine from the Detroit car manufacturing days of the 70s or what have you. It's just, we felt like a bit more love and attention deserved to go into design of a matrix. So when they're placed in a rack next to something like a Kaleidoscope or a whole heap of products, that it actually fits in with that world of custom integration of kind of premium technology. And I just didn't feel like a lot of the competing HDMI matrices felt premium at all.
Yeah, especially for the price point that you end up paying for a system like this.
Yeah.
I totally agree. So let's chat a little bit about kind of the full product line here. You've got a 4x4 chassis, an 8x8 chassis, and a wealth of options of things. Now, when I say chassis, a lot of our listeners are mixed. We have some integrators, and then we have a lot of kind of like the prosumer DIY guys, and we have just a complete mix. And some people kind of understand this chassis thing, and some people don't. So I guess I'll let you explain that.
Okay, well, the chassis is basically a hub. It's the central hub that allows you to connect multiple source devices and multiple displays, and you can build your hub to the exact size that you need. So if you've got 5 sources and 6 displays, you can build a matrix or a system that only has 5 inputs and 6 outputs. And that's where the modularity comes into it. So you have an 8x8 chassis, but you don't necessarily have to use all 8 module inputs or outputs. You can populate it with one. You could make a 1-to-2 system if you wanted to. It's sort of scalable, a scalable system that you build to the exact size of the project every time.
Right, and so that's, as an integrator, that appeals to me because, well, one, it could save some money. If I have a house that has maybe 3 sources and 2 TVs right now, but down the road they may need to activate a couple more TVs, I could sell the appropriate chassis and then just get the little cards and slide them into place as I need them.
Exactly. And you're not paying for technology that you don't use. That's another thing. Generally, with HDMI matrices, you have to choose whether you have a HD base T light matrix, which only offers you limited range, say of 60 meters, or I'm trying to convert that to feet. I think it's like, 190 feet, just under 200 feet. Or you have the HD base T, full HD base T, shall we say, which gives you 100 meters, which is like 300 feet. And one's more expensive than the other. And if you've only got one zone that requires the sort of 100-meter length, you have to buy the more expensive matrix. But with modular, you can just buy one output module with that full HD base T technology just for that one zone. So you're never paying for features that you don't use. You're always buying a matrix that's the right size, but also has the right technology performance for each zone. So
right.
That's another benefit of it too.
And typically in the past, at least from my experience and what I've seen, is that this type of technology, like anything modular, where you had an empty chassis and you slid a card into, I can think of maybe like TOA amplifiers on the commercial side, the 70-volt amplifiers. You had little cards that you could slide into them to add in different inputs and outputs and DSPs and that kind of thing. Those typically came with a premium. And from what I remember at CEDIA, and we don't have to talk pricing here at all, but you guys were really competitively priced for matrices that are kind of in the same, I mean, you were in the same price range. And for all the features and everything else that you offer, it was a very compelling buy. So I was pretty impressed with like how well your price points held up against your competition. I thought that was pretty. You're doing some pretty good engineering if you're doing that. So.
Well, I think that comes from in the UK we operate a direct sales model, so we don't go through distributors in the UK. Our integrators buy that product directly from us, so we're cutting out a layer of margin. And to be honest, we prefer to deal that way because we like to deal directly with our customers. We like to have strong relationships with the guys who are installing our equipment. And we've always kind of struggled when using third parties to set up that chain of communication. There's another layer, and it's just not as simple and not as efficient. So that helps us be very keen on pricing. The also thing is we're not importing these things from overseas. So there is that perception that imported products are cheap, but that isn't necessarily the case anymore. The price of products, from China and rising wage prices and what have you, means that, it's not necessarily the cheap option anymore to get something made in China. So, yeah, what can I say? Are we cheap? Are we expensive? It depends who you talk to, I think, Seth. So it's kind of like a subjective viewpoint whether we're a value for money brand or a premium. You're paying an unnecessary premium. I personally think our products are priced fairly, and we're not overcharging and we're not undercharging. So.
Oh no, I wasn't saying that at all. I was impressed. I was impressed for this type of system to be priced at what I thought it was a very fair and competitive price at. For if you max out the system, it was exactly where I thought the price should be. So if you're an integrator in the States here, you do go through distribution. You are exclusive with Wave, I believe, right? That was announced at CEDIA.
Yeah, that's right. So we do have an agreement at the moment with Wave Electronics, which I think are a very, very good distributor. Very strong in the southern states. I spent a lot of time recently in Dallas and Arizona and Louisiana, training.
Don't forget Texas. I know you were there.
Texas, of course. How can I forget Texas? So yeah, I think they're the right partner for us in the USA. They have a very impressive company, and we're hoping that together we can get a good amount of installers using our equipment.
No, definitely. I mean, I was excited to see you show up at CEDIA this year and see the little blue boxes over in the booth and then over at the Wave booth as well.
Cool.
And you won an award there at CEDIA too, right?
Yeah, we won an award from CEDIA in Europe. For most innovative product.
That's what it was, yeah.
Yeah, so we're really proud of that award. That's an award that's coveted greatly here in Europe, and so our blue boxes they've caused a stir since bringing them out, and they're very popular. And it's nice to get some recognition as well. I'm not saying that we do this for the awards, but it is always nice to get an award and have a nice few glasses of champagne with the team.
Very cool, very cool. So I know you mentioned earlier that you had plans to expand the line this year. It sounded like you're going. You said it's going to 16 by 16.
Yeah, we're working on 16 by 16. The release of that is dependent on availability of HDCP 2.2 chipsets, which at the moment are fairly hard to get hold of in the quantity we require for that product. But we're shooting for CEDIA USA, so I'm sure I'll catch up with you there, and hopefully at that show we'll be showing our 16 by 16 chassis size.
Very cool.
But our biggest announcement actually this year, which is what we're showing at ISE, and this is exclusive for you, Seth, because no one actually knows the full ins and outs of this yet, is that we're moving into audio distribution and amplification as well as video distribution. So we're going the whole 9 yards in terms of audio visual anywhere products.
Awesome.
So that was direct feedback from the States actually this year. So we went to CEDIA USA, and everyone was saying to us, "Great video matrix, but what do I do with audio? Where's your audio matrix?" So we basically took that on board, came back to the UK, and audio is not that hard to compared to HDMI. Audio is really easy. So we're releasing a range of audio matrix, 12 in, 12 out, and also a 8-zone power amplifier as well. So you can have HDAnywhere in the rack doing both the video and audio distribution in the home.
Very cool. And does it kind of control and set up through the same like WebOS thing?
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
very cool.
All and the same sort of, for integration with control systems, the same command structure, very easy, IP controllable, and very, compared to the control system's own brand of own brand of audio and amplifiers that they sell, we're very, how can I put it? Yeah, we're just going to be cheaper than they are.
That's good to hear.
So I think this is just reflective of a lot of control system brands started off making remotes and then added an audio amplifier and an audio matrix and then a video matrix to their range of products, and we're just doing it in reverse. Yeah, to that.
Very cool. Yeah, I mean, you kind of started off with the hardest thing in the rack to work with, but yeah, you definitely made a good go at it here.
And we're calling that system, it's got quite a quirky name, it's called Layer Cake.
Layer Cake?
Layer Cake,
I cannot wait to see the marketing on this one.
Well, Android's got ice cream sandwich and lollipop, and I think the new dish box called a Joey.
Right.
Am I right? Is that what it's called?
The Joey in the hopper, yep.
Yeah, so, what's in a name? So we decided to call it Layer Cake because it's like a cake. It's got many layers, audio layer, amplification layer, and of course the video matrix layer.
Very cool, very cool. Well, yeah, and that WebOS control setup, I'll post, there's a video on your website, and I'll post links and everything in our show notes here. Cool. That video is pretty slick because you show off how WebOS works and how you just drag and drop the source to the TV you want it to be on.
Yeah.
And I guess if you can do the same with audio, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, audio is easy compared to video. Trust me. We're really excited to be able to offer installers the ability to give end users a hidden, the video anywhere, HDAnywhere in the home, but also enhancing that with awesome hidden 2.1 audio as well. I should say that the system gives the ability to have 2.1 zones rather than just simple 2 ceiling speakers. We've made it very easy to add a sub as well. So, I think it's going to be popular. I hope so. Anyway,
I can't wait to see this thing. I probably won't make it out to Amsterdam for ISE.
No, okay.
But yeah, I can try.
Well,
let's get through this house remodel, and I'll be doing it. I'll be able to travel a little bit more.
Maybe you should sort of crowdfund your trip to Amsterdam.
Right, that's not a bad idea.
Get it on Kickstarter.
Just send some money to the PayPal account, guys.
Yeah.
So if people wanted to find out more about HDAnywhere and maybe about you and contact with you, what's the best way of getting in touch?
Well, it's really simple. The website's HDAnywhere.com. That would, depending on what country you're in, you can click on your region. We also have HDAnywhere.trade. If you're a custom integrator, that's a website dedicated to you. So it's got a lot more technical language that your average consumer wouldn't understand. And yeah, that's just the best way to get in touch with us is in the USA. We have HDAnywhereusa.com. So if you Google HDAnywhere, you should be able to get in touch with us with relative ease.
And I'll make sure I get all those links in the show notes. The HDAnywhere.trade I didn't know about. That's a good one.
Yeah, and you can tweet us at HDAnywhere. We're easy to get hold of.
Definitely. All right, Chris. Well, we're running up on our time here. I know you gotta get away. You got some things to do this afternoon. I just want to thank you for joining us here on Home Tech, and thanks for your time. And we're looking forward to seeing what you guys bring to the table at ISE. Definitely looking forward to Layer Cake.
I really appreciate you inviting me on, and it's an honour and a privilege to be on your show, Seth.
Oh, well, thanks, Chris, and appreciate it.
Okay, man. Take care.
Hey, you too. Take care.
Hey, bye-bye.
Bye.